Engineering. I wish to thank Mr. Harit Mohan, CEO and founder of Significant LLP, and Mr. Kushal Jain, Manager Patent Research. I really thank you from my heart for accepting this invitation in short notice and making all the arrangements for this presentation. Welcome you for this presentation, sir.
Thank you.
I welcome all the participants for attending this program, and I welcome Mr. Harit Mohan to start the session. Thank you, sir.
Sure. Thank you, everyone, and a very good afternoon. I hope situations there are good and they're improvising because we've been hearing Tamil Nadu has been kind of affected after Maharashtra as well. So I'm hoping that you guys are coping up well and everybody is safe there. Having said that, let me just introduce a little about myself and my colleague Kushal, who is on the call with us today. So, I am the CEO of Significant Information Solutions LLP. So, we started off in 2012, and Kushal is with us from the beginning of the company, and he's been handling the mechanical research team with us. And what is also interesting is that this is in fact in row our second session with Tamil Nadu. We also spoke yesterday with I think MET group colleges from Tamil Nadu, and today we are fortunate to have all of you with us. And what we will be, the agenda of today's meeting would be to give you an idea about the IPR, the basics of IPR. Kushal will be taking care of that, and I will be discussing a little about the entrepreneurship journey that we have to begin with. So before I start sharing my presentation with all of you, there is a request that has come from the college that towards the end of the session we are asked to maybe share a link. Based on that link, you would be registering and you'd be getting your certificates. That's what college has informed us. So we would be sharing that link after the question and answer session, roughly around 3:30, and you are requested to by the college to attend through the session. So then I take everybody's permission here to begin the session formally. I hope you can see my screen right now. Can you confirm, Kushal? Can you see our screen?
Yes, sir. It is visible.
Okay, perfect. So, so we are the we will be speaking about a couple of things as you would see on the cover slide. Kushal will be discussing about the basics of IPR and patents. You are requested to go to the chat windows that you may need during this presentation because we have tried to make it interactive session. So you can respond to the questions that we would ask in between as a primer to the presentation there, and any other questions that you would like to ask me or Kushal, we welcome them as well from the chats. So let me begin this formally then. So the way it works with IPR is it all starts with an idea. That's the seed of any business that you would like to go into. And how do we find an idea is very important question. So I've mentored a lot of companies in the past, and how we have seen it is that a lot of companies, entrepreneurs, a lot of people, students, faculty members struggle to find an idea that is innovative enough, that can be commercialized, that has potential of generating money for the college, for the students, or for the entrepreneurs. So this thing starts with how to find an idea, and what we have or what I personally recommend is there are certain steps that you can follow. The first and the foremost step is basically the book reading step. So maybe most of you are requested to read a lot. It could be in the form of scientific literatures. It could be in the form of blogs, some problems that are being solved So it all comes with a lot of reading habits, and that's what we would recommend that all of us should develop in the form. And we also suggest that probably uh, do a lot of browsing around the problems that you're seeing these days. A lot of problems could be validated, a lot of problems, a lot of ideas could be validated by a simple web browsing search to see if somebody's have been working on the same area or not. Do you have patents that are already in the area that you're working or not? So web browsing remains an important part to generate that idea. What you would also see is how to find an idea. You need to be observe a lot of things, a lot of issues that are happening around you, because most of the innovative businesses comes from the problem that we are facing. For example, in today's world, had there been no digital platforms like the ones that we're using today, be it Microsoft Team or Zoom or Cisco WebEx or anything, how we would be able to connect with ourselves. So somebody fortunately had solved this problem before, and that's why we are utilizing it. So observation from the minute you get up to the minute you go back to the bed at night. It is recommended keep observing. Do not bypass something that is causing you discomfort. Do not bypass something that is bothering you. It could be simple problem. It could be difficult problem. Accordingly, the solution has to come. But you need to be observant of the problems around you to find a solution, and do not ignore or become a part of the existing ways by bypassing without solving that problem. Keep writing journals. This is a recommendation, and I talk often to my team also that it may happen with a lot of you that today you have an idea, or at this moment you are thinking about something as I speak, and if you do not write it down, jot it down somewhere on your mobile, somewhere in your diary or anything, the problem, the solution, or the idea that you're thinking right now will be gone, and chances are it may never come back to your brain again. It happens with me a lot of times, especially during the time of bed. If I'm thinking something, if I do not ping it then and there, if I do not jot it down then and there, by the morning, the idea has vanished already. So keep writing, keep those notes, and who knows, you have $1 million idea right in there from the notepad that you're maintaining tomorrow. And last thing that I would like to recommend is socialize a lot in the like-minded people. You should talk to different genre of people, be it entrepreneurs, be it other success stories, be it professors for students whom they idolize. For professors, it could be, let's say, some other leaders that they have idolized in their life. And this should be done on regular basis. It cannot happen that once in a year I meet somebody and I think, okay, I've done my quota of socializing. Probably make it a habit to connect with somebody on LinkedIn on regular basis. Follow your leaders, see how they are innovating, talk to other entrepreneurs who are working on it, and see if you can learn something from their businesses or their projects, and incorporate those findings amongst your area. uh, then we have a simple idea creation and diffusion curve that we generally follow, and I say this because we have been using it a lot in our own ways of innovation. So how does this work is like this. So for example, today holidays or lockdown, let's call this as lockdown period. Once the lockdown is period, each of us would like to maybe take a short vacation after a couple of months, after a few months, once the situations are back to normal. So when we ideate, okay, let's discuss where we want to go after this lockdown is over, because each of us have been in our homes or our hostels for longer than usual duration, and we are already fed up to a good extent. So the minute you start thinking of hill stations maybe around you or beaches around you, what you would see is, if I plot such findings on a scale of time and quality, you would see that some of the ideas that will come to your mind would be very relevant, and they will come in a quick amount of time. But then you would realize, I've been at those hill stations a lot of time. I do not want to go there. There are a lot of restrictions in there. I do not want, for XYZ reasons, somebody don't want to go. And then what happens is you start running out of ideas as the time progresses. And then comes some solutions from somebody in the team which are novel, which they want to try it for the first time, you want to go to that hill station for the first time, you want to explore that area for the first time. So they may not be very relevant. They could have some hardships in the path, but then they could be novel enough for you to try it out. So same psychology works when you're ideating for your businesses, for the projects, for the entrepreneurship businesses that you want to try with, or if you want to file a research article or a patent. You should always keep this graph in mind when you're ideating, and this may motivate you not to stop here at the bottom of the bed, but to hit the higher level when you're ideating. Then there is a law of diffusion of innovation that works. So imagine that you worked on an idea, it has come up now. You know that I've thought of an idea. How do I want to diffuse it? Why diffusion means how market adopts to it, how my consumers, how my customers adopt to the innovation or the product that I am innovating. So to take that as an example, let's retrospect a little. Let's go 10 years back from here. 10 years back, recall the moment when the touchscreens phone were coming into the market for the first time. Each of us were very skeptical. Should we buy a touchscreen phone? What if the screen breaks? The phone will go useless. What if the water falls on my screen? It won't work. There were a lot of doubts, and then there were a couple of people in our colleges, in our friend circle, who tried those touchscreens phone for the first time. And the companies were very careful. They never took you to the touchscreen directly. They first bought touchscreen with the keypad so that people can gradually shift from one technology to the other technology. A lot of companies have tried that. So the people who were the first ones, let's imagine, were the risk taker people who were the first users of touchscreen. And if you recall, some of our parents, some of our elderly, some of our friends would have always discouraged us: do not buy this. It may get broke. The screen may not work. The technology is new. It's very costly. So those are the kind of people which were never into it. But then after they have seen some success stories in their group. Next adopters of the technology came in. So if I imagine there is a size of 100, so once 3 people have used it, the next 13 would jump in, and they said, okay, if it has been good for 2, the next 13 would say, okay, we could also try it. And once it is successful for 15 people in the group, then the next 35, or let's say the first 50% of the class, or the customers would get covered in, and then came the late majority, which would join in, and then comes the laggards. So if I talk about touchscreen technology, probably they have covered, starting from this platform to almost, good amount of laggards also. So laggards are the people who still think touchscreen technology is bad. We should still stick to the, the QWERTY keyboards phone that we, had before. So that's the diffusion curve. That's how things work. Our elders, especially my parent, if I talk about, who were never supportive, are today having the touchscreen phones with themselves also. They are also using the same technology. So that's how that slowly the innovation diffuses into the public. It takes time, and it takes some kind of marketing, branding exercise to make those ideas diffuse into the normal public. So then what's the important factor? What are the quality researchers point? What are the 3 factors that you should consider of, when doing such quality research? So you would see ideas are the first thing. You need them, then you need to prototype it, then you need to build something out of your idea. It cannot be a very vague idea. It has to be a workable idea. Once the workable ideas are there, then you have to protect it with the form of patents or IPRs or copyrights or trademarks, depending upon what technology you have done under it. And then once the protection has been done, you go for industrialization or commercialization of your product. So if you have covered all 3, you have a good chance that you have right at the intersection of all 3 a very successful product from your company or from your college, and that's what you should always aim about. So, so then the question comes now. Many of us would be actually innovating today. Must be doing R&D at our colleges, schools, incubation centers. If there are some startups today in the audience, so how do we use the the output of an R&D that comes out? So there are multiple ways. One, there could be scientific journals that you would like to publish, and you could put your R&D into a form of scientific paper. Then it could be a newspaper that you want, that you could record a YouTube video and put it on it. You can write some books and put it in libraries. You can blog about it. You can put it on social networking websites like Facebook. What you should never do it, and that's what I personally think Indian system lags, is asking students to put it on a thesis, asking students to put it on a practical notebook, which none students or faculty members are ever going to use it as soon as they have been ranked or graded on the score boards or on their report cards, and nobody's going to come back to it. That's the last method somebody should do, and unfortunately that's the most method that is used in India today, and this has to stop, and we should use the better methods to use the output of our R&D and projects. Maybe we can start commercializing it or possibly patent it. So I'm often asked this question, so what's the order? Agar we need to choose that amongst all the listing, what should be the first order that we should follow? So the recommendation is, first you file a patent, then you file any research paper in journal, books, put it on newspapers or whatever you want to. The first ideal step has to be get a filing date or a priority date by filing a provisional or a full specification patent with the Indian Patent Office. Even if it is done on today, a day after tomorrow, you can go ahead and put it in scientific journal. There are two reasons. One, if you publish it on a journal article, you cannot challenge somebody. It's basically for the society, and if somebody tomorrow copies your article or uses your article for developing his innovative product, you cannot stop him, because journals or all other stuffs are free things that you're giving away to the society for betterment of science. On the other hand side, patents is an application of the science, and you want to earn money out of the technology that you've given your sweat and money into. So this is what US universities, European universities follow. They ask their researchers, PhD scholars, MTech scholars, or graduates to work on it, get something patented, and they want to license that technology out via their tech transfer or IPR cells in their colleges to companies, so that they can earn money, and the college is not entirely dependent on the fee or the grants that government give or fee that students give them. So that's about how we can use the output in R&D, and this is a quick guideline of how you can choose an idea roughly as we move forward. So for example, this is a scale of time versus the quality or the impact of an idea that you're thinking upon. So first of all, if there's an idea which is taking more time, and it is having high impact. So of course, if the impact is good, but it is going to take months or years to develop, then it's good for long term, because a lot of companies, a lot of entrepreneurs do not have a lot of cash flow with them. They cannot go for a longer time, so they should probably keep such ideas for a long term vision or goal. Then the ideas which are low impact, which is does not having impact on my customers or for my sales, and it is going to take more time, just forget it, discard those ideas. You do not want to work on a low impact idea and devote a lot of time to it, which is not gonna make sense any longer. Then comes the less time and the low impact ideas. So even though it is going to take less time, it's going to be ready quickly, but since the impact is not that much, again, you should not keep that in priority as well. However, if there is some idea which you think can be developed in less time and it could lead high impact on your business, on the project that you're doing, these are the things that you should definitely go for it and should be on the priority of yours before you start innovating everything. So that's a wholesome idea of how things are done. Now I would request probably Kushal to share his screen to take you from here to the next part. So Kushal, I'm gonna end my screen sharing and you can start sharing the screen.
Sure.
So you need to just click on the share folder and then you would see a list. If you're not able to see it, I'll just check if we have made it the participant.
Yeah, I'm just checking. I have not been given the presenters right.
Okay, let me just pass on the presenter, right? Yeah, I've just made you the presenter.
So I hope audience is enjoying the session. It's kind of interactive and will have some quick exercises as well. So I hope every one of you can see my screen now. Harit
Not
sir, Harit sir,
not
can you please confirm?
not yet. Yeah, I think
Okay.
it may come up. Yeah, now we can see it.
Okay. Fine. Okay. Thank you so much, Harit sir, for the great opening of the session. Now that we all have learned so much about what an idea is, so what an idea is what we discussed till now. So what comes after the idea is the future prospects of the idea that we have. So those future prospects would generally include the research part, or basically how would we define the research? The research is basically the background study of the idea that you have, idea or plan or whatever you can say. I mean, it can be your intention, or it can be your course of action, whatever the solution to a problem is. So that is kind of an idea that you have.
Kushal, before you start, can you make sure your video is still on?
Actually,
Camera is
I checked while you were presenting, your video was also not on.
on.
I'll just check once again if mine works. Just a second. Can you still see my screen?
Yeah, we can see your screen. Yes.
Okay, let me check. Where can I turn on the video?
Yeah, I think your camera. If you see that camera button.
Yeah, that is disabled when I'm sharing my screen. When I
Okay.
was not sharing my screen, it was enabled.
Okay. No problem. Okay.
So maybe there's some, you can use one
Okay.
feature at once.
No problem. We can continue.
Okay, fine. Fine. So we were talking about the research. Research is basically the background study of the idea that you have. So what does a good researcher do? How can a good researcher see his future prospects of the idea or the innovation that he has made? So there are a few factors on which the good research depends. So we are going to discuss those factors now. So one is the novelty aspect of the idea. You need to check before implementing your idea how novel it is, and how good it is, and how unique your idea is with respect to the ones that are already there in the market. See, when we are solving a problem, we should always come up with a solution that others might not have it. See, if you are coming up with a solution that others are already having it, so who's going to buy your idea? So that is where novelty comes into play. Now comes the viability. So viability, what do we mean by viability? It is the feasibility of your product with which it can penetrate into the market. And from market, there comes the market readiness. How ready your product is when we talk about the future prospects of your product. When we are talking about the market readiness, we mean say if you are making some product. If we take an example of a part of a machinery that you are gonna make it. So if you are ready to make it in a bulk order, if you receive it in any case, so are your is your machinery or is your company ready to or is your idea great enough to produce that product in bulk? So that is kind of market readiness that a good researcher need to see. So that there comes the market readiness, and then comes the diffusion and implementation of the product that you are making. So how good your idea is, that is one thing. How well your idea is, that is the other thing. And how good is your idea to enter the market, that is another thing. So now comes the experimentation. When we talk about the experimentation, you might already know, like when some drug is to enter the market, so there are some kind of trials that go on the drug. Same goes with the product. When the product is to come into the market, the company does some testing on the product, some testing in the form of, like, when we calculate what would I say, when we calculate the stresses, when we're talking, the audience being the mechanical engineer, automobile engineer, so you guys can relate it much better way. So when we are talking about a product that we gonna launch in coming near future, so the company would does to do some testing on the product. So that testing is a kind of experimentation that a company does. I mean, if it is able to bear the stresses of the complete machinery or not. So there comes the experimentation, and then the application area, how broad the market your idea is going to cover. Say if we take an example of a part, if we take an example of say a pen, if I talk about a pen, so a pen is a product that one can use to write. See, so that is one application area. If you can add something to it where you can switch that particular pen to a pencil. Say at one end it is a pen, at the other end we have a pencil nib, a carbon grip, a carbon nib. So that particular tool can act as a pen as well as a pencil. So that is the application area. The broader the application area, the better your idea is. Fine. So second comes the facing of the competition. Everyone knows, like if Samsung is there, it is not like Apple should not come up with some mobile phone because Samsung is already there in the market. So Apple should always face the heat that Samsung is giving to it, and vice versa. Same goes with Samsung. It is also facing the heat that Apple is giving to it. So it is a competition that will go on. I mean, there's no such market where you can enter and you are the first comer there. There would always be some idea already there in the market related to what you are working in. Fine. So next comes the well-defined problem statement. When we talk about an idea, so idea, where does an idea come from? Idea is basically a bridge between failure and success. So when we are talking about an idea, there is no idea or there is no success without without a problem. When there is no problem, the idea won't come into your mind, and when there is no idea, there won't be success. So the problem that you are addressing should be a good one or should be a correct problem. So next comes the problem solution analysis. Now, as you can see on the screen, so we have a set of problems here and a set of solutions. So when we talk about the numbers that are given here, so they are kind of results that we get, which say, as if we talk about the first number 10. So what that 10 number depicts, so this is depicting that there was a problem one, which was being solved using solution one in 10 number of say patterns. If we talk about, if we're talking about a number of patterns, so there were 10 results that were disclosing the problem one solving the solution one, or problem one being solved by solution one. So all these metrics has been made on the basis of number of patterns which are disclosing x number of problems and x number of solutions. When we convert this matrix into a further visualization format, so now we come up with some circles where size of circle is depicting the number of patterns which we discussed in the earlier slide. Bigger the circle, bigger is the number of patterns. So as you can see, problem number 2 and solution number 6. So this is having the biggest circle among all of the picture, and so this shows that problem 2 was being solved by solution 6 in maximum number of patterns. So what does this problem solution analysis states? So it states that problem number 3 was being solved using solution 1 a very less number of times. You can see this red circle area where a very little work has been done on 3 problems, problem 3, 4, 5 using solution 1. Same goes with problem 5 using solution 3, 4 and 5, where these are kind of white spaces where a good researcher can spot these white spaces and can start exploring these areas where he can solve problem number 3 using solution 1 and problem number 4 and 5 as well, so using solution 1. So this is the area where a good researcher can see an opportunity where he can work well. So this is the problem solution analysis which we generally follow. Now comes where should a good researcher search. So there are a couple of databases which are available, which are open source databases. There's no need to get the subscription paid for it. One is the Google Scholar, other is the IEEE Explore, Science Direct, and Google Patents and eSpaceNet. There you can directly search for your patents, for your prior art available related to the area of research that you are working in. So we are going to discuss a couple of these in our next slides. So these are the particularly the databases, the open source databases that you can generally use to search for your information, for your background of the art that you are working in. So next comes the IPR section. That was the main part of the session. So the IPR has a couple of main subsections, which we call patents, trademarks, copyrights, geographical indications, and industrial design. So we're going to talk about them one by one. So starting from the patents, what do we mean by a patent? A patent is a kind of a set of rights that an inventor gets for the idea or for the product that he has protected. So that is kind of rights, exclusive rights that he gets. So that no other person in all over the globe can utilize it without the permission of the owner. That is basically about the patent. So coming to the second part, the trademark. Trademark is given to the logo of a company, or by which the one company can distinguish its appearance or its products with respect to the other company. So if we talk about McDonald's and KFC, both of the companies have different trademarks, and we can see, if we are seeing yellow colored M, we can easily say that it is a McDonald product, and when we see KFC written over it with the logo, that means that we are that we are seeing a KFC product. So this is the basic difference between the trademark of both the companies. So next comes the copyright. Copyright, what do we what comes under the copyright is the literary work and the artistic work. So artistic work, we mean the arts, the paintings, the music work, and the literature that we have worked, that researcher would be working in. So all those would be protected under the copyright. So next comes the geographical indication. Geographical indication is given to a product which has some specific origin, which has something related to the place of its origin. Say if we talk about say Kolhapuri chappal. So what does it mean? It is a footwear which was originated from Kolhapur. So that is the geographical indication. Next comes the industrial design. Industrial design, when a product has nothing to do with the utility, but it has something unique in the design. So that would be protected under industrial design. Okay, so as promised earlier, so this session would be a little interactive. So now I'm gonna show the audience a set of pictures, and you're gonna tell us what IP does it fall under. Fine. So I'm gonna start it with first one. So this is a logo. Let me turn on the chat as well. Okay. So I have the chat in front of me. Okay. Fine. We're gonna start with this quick exercise. So first one I'm gonna show. This is a logo. I do not think I should ask the automobile engineers that what company does this logo belong to. So I'm gonna start it with a quick start. So this is basically a trademark.
I can see the chat window. Probably if somebody replies, I can dictate you from here.
Okay,
So,
because I
still with
cannot
us,
see.
yeah, that's okay. People who are still with us, probably if they could start on their chat windows. So there's gonna ask some quick IP exercise, and you can of course answer there. So Kushal, can you bring in this next.
Sure, sure. So next is a mask which is used to protect someone, so that there's no dust particles entering into the mouth or nose of a person. So that is what IP does this mask come under. It has some utility.
Would it be patent? Would it be a trademark? Would it be copyright? If somebody would like to ping on the chat.
Please, audience, you are free to write it in the chat. We can have this session interactive.
Okay, can we have a patent? We've got one answer from Jeannie Harika. So can we?
Great, great. So this is a pattern. So next comes 5.7. It's a novel by Chetan Bhagat. What IP does it come under?
Novel would come under patent, trademarks, copyrights, or what? Okay, can we see the answer?
Okay, so this comes under copyright. So I'm going to move on to next one. It's a secret formula for a cold drink or Coca-Cola. Does anyone know what IP does it can be protected under?
We got trade secret from Ship Viswas. I think we got the right answer.
Great. Trade secret.
Yeah.
Fine. Okay, moving on to next one. So it's kind of bicycle. It's a kind of motorcycle, and it has some utility. Can it be patented?
Patent. Once again, we have got multiple answers from Akash. From Akash and Viswas. Both of them have said patent.
Great, it's a patent. Moving on to next one. It's a mobile phone. What IP does it come under? Is it a trademark or a design or a patent or a GI? What is it?
People are saying patent a lot. Designed by Sheelam Muhammad Yusuf. Design. Yeah.
Great, patent. Fine. So here comes a drawing, a picture, some artistic work it is. So what does it come under?
Uh, Copyright. So we've got answer from Rakesh, uh, Vijay, Samala Kalyan. Yeah. So we've got a lot of answers.
Great. So next comes a logo. It's kind of logo for a company, Freedom Board. How can one protect this symbol?
We've got trademark from Vijay Kumar and Shiv Biswas and Sachin. Yeah, we've got answer.
Great. Trademark. So we are left with a couple of more. So it's a design basically for a bag, a carry bag. How can one protect this element, this image?
Patent is what people have answered. Vijay and answered patent. Yeah.
Yes, it can be protected under patent as well as a design patent as well, because it has some aesthetics associated with the bag. So that can be a design patent as well. Next come a logo again. So okay, before coming on to the type of IP, can anyone tell which company does this logo belong to?
Tesla. Yeah, we've answered. We got answers from people already on chat. So yeah, there's trademark.
Trademark.
There's trademark, and there are other people who said trademark. So yeah, we got it
Great.
right.
So next we have a chappal. It's a kind of footwear, and it has some specific origin as well. This is gonna come under geographical indication.
Right. The geographical indication basically are say Kolhapuri chappal or mangoes by a certain city or
Or Tamil
Darjeeling.
Nadu silk as well.
Yeah, yeah. So we have good silk coming from Tamil Nadu.
So next comes the bicycle, which has some parts labeled. What IP does it come under? Where can one protect this design or the utility of this bicycle?
So yeah, I've answered patents and industrial design there.
Great. Industrial design would be coming under the if one gets to protect the design part of the object only, and if he wants to protect the complete utility and working and functionality of the bicycle, so he should always go for a patent. Okay, so now that we are done with the exercise, now comes the reason why one should get his work protected. So uh, actually, this is a reason that why Signicent and companies like Signicent exist. So these are the main reasons that why one should get his IP protected. So one is the selling part, that one, if let's say there was an inventor and he got his invention protected under some IP, he has full rights over that particular IP, and he can sell his invention as well. Second is the royalty. After selling, he can obviously get the royalty in return of the IP rights that he has sold to someone. Then comes the recognition. Like he has some IP and he has something to add in his CV. Like he has worked on so and so technology, so he in return gets some recognition as well in that particular area. Next comes the commercialization. Once a person has got the IP for a product, then he has full rights to commercialize that product also. He can himself commercialize that product, he manufacture and commercialize, or he can license it as well to the other companies also. He can license his or for a particular period of time to the other companies as well. And in addition to licensing, he can also opt for cross licensing. What do we mean by cross licensing here? Cross licensing is kind of exchanging the licensing rights with the other party. Say you have an IP and the other person has IP. You want to use his IP and that third person wants to use your IP. So you can both work on the cross licensing aspect of the IP. Fine. So that can also work. Next comes the economic growth. Obviously, when you are living in a country and you are inventing something and you are working on some research of some product, and in return you are getting some royalty. You are adding to economic growth also. So next comes the one of the major aspects of the IPR, which is patent. So this is how an Indian patent looks like. If you can see on the screen, so there are some bibliographic informations that we generally get to see on a patent, where you can see the application date of the patent, when was the this application filed, and then there is a publication date on which the application got published. So this is the title of invention, which says portable upright bright field microscope with smart device compatibility. So this is the title of the invention that an inventor has got the patent for. So fine. So these are some inventors, and this patent belongs to IIT Bombay. So this is the picture of how an Indian patent looks like. Fine. So now comes the research part, and research, by research we mean the search part of the patent. How would you search about a patent? So first of all, the very first step to search for a patent is you should understand what your requirement is. Fine. If you are clear with your requirement, you can easily search for your idea. Second comes the conducting of searches. When you are clear with what you want to search, you can use some keywords for that particular idea, or for that particular product that you want to search for, and search on some open source databases, which we discussed in earlier slides, like Google Search or Google Patents or Google Scholar as well. So next comes the shortlisting of those patent references, wherein you can screen all the results that you have got from the open source database, and you can shortlist those references, and you can then make a set of all those references, and then compare those references with respect to the idea that you received in your mind. So by that you can get an idea like how good your invention was, or how novel your invention was. So taking an example for this patent search, say there was an idea that came into your mind. There occur many accidents on the highways where people run over, cars or automobiles run over some pedestrians. So you come up with some idea that there should be a system with which we can make a car so much intelligent that it can sense the objects, or it can sense the pedestrian coming across the road, and it can automatically brake the or apply the brakes of the automobile. So that was the idea that came into your mind. So I'm gonna quickly switch my screen to Chrome. I hope you are able to see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Okay, fine. So, say the idea was to prevent the accidents. So, an idea came into your mind like you should go on some emergency braking kind of system. So, when we search about automatic braking system in an automobile. Okay, so when we hit the search button, what we are getting? Okay, I think the link has expired. Let me open it again. Hello, can anyone hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, I think there's some connectivity issues at my end.
Let me share that if you want.
Yes, I was about to say that if you can share it at your end.
Okay, so I'll just share it. So what Kushal was trying to do is this. So he went to basically Google Patent. And when he went to basically Google Patent, he wanted to have a look at, say, emergency braking system in automobiles, right? So this is what he typed, and what you would see here is that these are the patents that are covered. Now, what we generally do is, once we are looking at the patents aspect, we generally just go on our normal Google search and do it. Now, what you are missing out is if I use the same search strings on a just usual Google, which most of us follow. This is the page that you would see, and you would see the results are not technology oriented. They're either news or some pictures of some YouTube. Well, if you're
I
searching,
would like to interrupt Harit sir in between. Your screen is not visible. I think it won't be visible to the audience as well. So
uh,
can anyone in audience confirm if they can see the screen?
Uh, yes, I can see the screen.
okay.
Fine, fine.
So yeah, so what you would see here is that you would see that the link results that you're getting here would be entirely different from the results that you would see on a Google Patents page, and this is what we recommend. That you should start searching, and then if you read through the patent as Kushal was showing you the patents in there, so you could open any of those patents. So this is, for example, a United States patent, and you can read through it. But that's the primer of it and how things should go. And probably what you would also like to do is try it yourself for the project that you're doing, and you can try it off. Now, before we end up the session, we would also like to understand if there is some question. You can start putting that in chat window, or else I would go ahead and kind of summarize of what Kushal has suggested. So, for example, this is the overall flow that we should follow. First, go and file a patent. Then you can you expect it to get granted or published. This generally may take about 2 years or so in India to get granted, but that should not stop you from manufacturing or putting or commercializing or marketing about your products or your technology into the market. But the first disclosure to the public should happen after you have at least filed with the patent office. Once that it has been granted, you can go for valuation of your technology. What's the worth in rupees? Is it worth crores? Is it worth lakhs? Is it worth thousands? So we would like to know the valuation of a technology and then do market research. And then you can of course license out the technology to somebody else, or you can start manufacturing the technology if you would like to. So that's how the summary of or flow of IP would go. Uh, and if you have any questions, we can reserve the last 10 minutes for Q&A, and then there is a small story that I would like to share towards the end of the Q&A. But yeah, if we have still somebody from the college, and so if you would like to have questions, we can take those questions now. So you can use the chat screen that you have used some time back to ask us the questions, please.
Roshni, please, Roshni, ஒரு வாட்டுக்கன் எல்லாரும் போட்டு ஐவர்
Could you say that please again, ma'am? Could you type it maybe on your chat mode? Hello. So I want everybody to go to the chat mode of the screen, and you can put your questions that are there, if any. Okay. In the meantime, you think about the questions. Let me just summarize of what we have discussed and the My Story session that we were thinking of. So basically, I started off this company Significant, as I said, in 2012, and we have been working towards it. We started bootstrapped it with just a couple of employees, and then what we get is with 2 employees that we started off with. Now we are a team of 80 researchers. I actually have faced personally. I went to IIT Madras for my education. From IIT Madras, when I came out, there was a recession in 2008. If some of you remember that. So my first job was lost right at 12 years back from now in the recession of 2008 and 9. And that time I decided that probably after some experience of work, probably I like to start on my own. And we would like to encourage more and more people from your college as well to do the same. And it requires a lot of perseverance. It requires a lot of patience as well and experience to do it. But you have to start at some point. In the meantime, we have question from Mr. J.R. Deepak on the chat who says, "Can we patent names or new terms?" So, Kushal, would you like to answer that?
Patent. Actually, I'm not able to see the chat window updates. I mean, it's not getting updated at my end. So
Okay,
can you
so
repeat the question?
I'll read the question. So, Mr. J.R. Deepak says, "Can we patent a name?" Probably he's asking about trademarks. But
Okay, sir, I would like to answer that. Like, if you want to get your name protected, or if you want to get the company's name protected, so that would come under the trademark basically. So patents are basically the rights that are given to a product which has some utility. It can be a manufacturer, it can be a product, it can be some composition which can be protected under the patent, but the name comes under the trademark section of IP.
right, and then there is next question that we have. What is a trade secret from Mr. Vijay Kumar?
Okay, so trade secret is kind of thing is a secret that a company or a person can keep to himself and does not disclose it to public, and no one comes to know about it. No, so that is a kind of protection that he has received, and without getting people know about it, he can easily manufacture or easily produce that particular product using the composition that he has kept secret to himself. So that is the protection that comes under trade secret.
Right. And another point just to add to that, Mr. Vijay, is that when once you're doing a trade secret, the major difference is patent terms is just 20 years. However, if you keep it trade secret, it's just like the boyfriend, girlfriend, or a husband, wife secret. It is a secret till the time it is not out, and there is no life of it. It all depends on the trust between the two parties who is trying to keep a secret. However, for patent, you have a restricted 20 years of life after which anybody can use it, and you cannot even stop them. So it all depends what kind of nature of business or idea that you are thinking, and you can use that. Then we have next question from Mr. Purushottam, and I can take that. Why is Indian patent system taking 2 years for the grant? So 2 years, to be honest, is not that much of a period. Other patent offices takes roughly about anywhere between 1.5 to 2-3 years. There was a time that Indian patent was even slower. I was in Germany, for example, and I remember a conversation that I happened with one of the German client that we have in Germany, and he was asking me that, do you think Indian government is doing it intentionally, that they take too much time for the grant of a patent that we Germans or Americans file? And he was thinking it's part of our Indian government or Indian patent office strategy. How? Because once the patent has been granted, it kind of kills the indigenous players to manufacture or commercialize the same product. I don't know. That's one of the aspects that a lot of US people used to think or German people used to think. For me, it was more with the updations to the system that are happening now. Things are improving a lot with IPR offices improving day by day. They're adding new technology. The patent pending period would be shortened up. So we have now flood of questions, Kushal. Let's take the other one. Then we have one from Mr. J. Parivandan. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing the name wrong, but can we patent a material, a different composite materials? We'll just take 20 seconds. Kushal, if you can quickly answer it, and then we can hop to the next one. Can we patent a material?
Sure, we can patent the composition of a material. I mean, as such, you have to define the composition, like the materials, the different sub-materials that a material can be made up of. So we can get it protected under patent.
Right. Next question is from Nehal Ahmed, and I can take this. So he says, Nehal says, I'm sorry, he or she, how can how can approach to any industry with my innovative concept so that owner of the concept can be benefited? So what I get is there are two ways, Nehal, that you could do this. One, either I mean, I would recommend you should file a patent for it first, and once you have the patent, you should only approach the companies. I have a personal story. One of my friends from IIT, for example, used to work in robotics area. He did a startup and he left his job, did 2 years of research, and then made the product. But then he was not able to get a customer. He gave up. Unfortunately, his startup didn't work. What happens was someday he got a call from Flipkart, and now Flipkart was very interested in his product. And he called me up, what should I do if I go to Flipkart with my prototype or with my technology or with my robot? I'm sure they have a lot of money and a lot of good people. They can just copy my product. And 2 years is a lot of time. He has kept it unprotected. He disclosed it on websites of his, on YouTube, etc. So he has kind of lose his opportunity to patent it at that time. Unfortunately, his technology become free for all to use. So just to answer that very swiftly, file a patent, go to then go to any investor or potential partner, and then seek for funds or offer your technology so that you know that you're sufficiently protected and the technology is yours. Okay, the next question is from Mohammed Yusuf. He says, can you suggest a website to apply the patent and what all the procedure? Mohammed, you can go to Indian Patent Office website. Just Google Indian Patent Office website. You have all the forms there, and the e-filing is still possible from there. It's a word of advice if you're not a lawyer or you do not have a legal background. It is recommended. So you can do it on your own, but it is recommended that you should take some patent agents or a legal help just to make sure your patent is rightly drafted and you're not leaving it low.
Exactly.
Yeah, so then we have a question from JR Deepak and Kushal, maybe you can use this. For example, I found a new terminology in a subject or research. Can that be patented? For example, rockathon. I think that's the follow-up question. Rockathon, I think, sir, would go to trademarks. You cannot patent it because, as Kushal was saying, brand names like Significant, McDonald's, PNG, or your college name or university's name are all names. They identify the brands, and this should be trademarked and not patented. Patent is for technology innovation, and that's all it's about. Sir, tell us about the royalty. Would you like to take this, Kushal? Could you like to quickly share in 30 seconds what is royalty and how people can use it?
Sure, sure. Sir, when you have your something protected in your name, like you had some invention and you got it protected under, say for example, a patent. So you have the complete rights to use that patent, or you can sell it as well. So when we talk about selling, or there is another aspect of selling. You can license it to a third party. So by licensing, what you are doing, you are letting other people use it, and in return you get some royalty for that licensing. Say you are the patent owner, and I am to manufacture the product that you have protected in your name. So I would approach you and I would ask you to license that IP to me. So what would you do? You'll give some licensing rights to me to manufacture the product. I'll manufacture it, and in return I'll give you the 2 to 3% of the profit that I am making from your product, from your IP. So that is
Right.
the kind of royalty that I can pay you. So this is the profit that you get in return of licensing.
Right. And what you can also do is there is a talk that I have given on licensing. If you go to YouTube, whenever you have time, search with Harit Mohan, and probably IIT Jodhpur is where I've given a talk on the same issue, and with NRDC, which is in Delhi, this government office. We've been, kind of helping them also in the same process. So there are a couple of talks from the top of my head. You can go to YouTube channel of it and, probably, look at it from there. And then we have, one follow-up question. Should we write any exam or attend any interview to take a patent? That's the question, Kushal. Would you like to take it?
To take a patent, I don't think you have to sit for some examination. You just need to have a thorough knowledge of the complete process, and you must read something about the patenting process. So basically, in a briefing about the patenting process, I would say the first step would be the novelty check of your idea or your product. You should go to some open source database to check it at the first phase whether your invention is novel or not. So that was the first phase, but obviously there would be a second phase, which is the most important one. You should get your invention checked for the novelty on the paid databases, because on the open source databases there won't be all the data available for the patents. You'll have to get some advice from the expert, from the IP experts, to get this thing confirmed whether your idea is novel and is not obvious. So that is the one thing. I mean, you'll have to do some background study to get a patent, obviously, but there's no need to sit in an exam like just you just like mentioned.
Right. So Nehal has a follow-up question. Nehal, I'll answer that. If I'm doing a patent for innovative ideas, but I'm getting my patent license after 2 years, by that time my idea may get old. How can I control this? Very good question, Nehal. So ideally, this is how it works. You have to get your grants, because nobody's gonna take a license of a technology because they are not even sure if your patent would go through or not. Plus, there is another problem here, that if you think your technology has a shelf life of just 2 years, I'm not sure, how big or how good it is otherwise as a business. Because ideally, the telecommunication industry or the mobile industry is an industry that is considered very short time. They, in fact, foresee about 5 to 7 years of life of a technology. But that being said, if you have a good reputation, you can use your past experiences with the companies or with the colleges to show that, see, this is my credibility. Sooner or later, the patent is anyhow gonna get granted. Why don't we start with a lower licensing fee now, to reduce your risk, and you can increase the licensing fee after you get the grant of the patent. That way, both of you could be benefited. So it's all about the licensing agreement that you can make. I've also shared my LinkedIn link on the chat, just 4 chats above. If some of you have more questions, you can, of course, reach us on LinkedIn. We can be connected over there. If there are some, things that you want to do, and please drop in the feedbacks. I think, sir, if you can share the link again there, they may like to go to there. I think it's coming from your college, that if you want to have e-certificate, you need to fill some link, so they can share the link, or you can scroll up to get the link from the chat. So yeah, with that in mind, I think we can conclude on time here. And thanks for coming up. We would be recording this particular video on the YouTube also, so you can again, maybe by the end of the day today or tomorrow, if you go to YouTube and search with your college or university name and with either of mine or Kushal's name on YouTube, you should be able to retrieve the talk back from the YouTube. And thank you so much. Have a wonderful day ahead. Stay safe. And I do miss Chennai a lot of time. Spent some part of my college days there. And if everything goes well, we would love to come to your college and see you, face to face as well. So, all right. Thank you so much once again, and have a nice. Bye
Thank you
bye.
so much. It has been a very good session, and I would like to thank Dr. Raja as well for getting this webinar organized. So, thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
So, Mr. Hello?
Yeah.
Hello? So, Mr. Harit Mohan,
Yes, sir.
is it audible, sir? Yeah. I thank you very much for your time, sir, for sharing your knowledge, the experience in this field, which you have gained for over years. And it's been a very pleasant experience learning from you for this past 1 hour. Thank you, sir. And I thank Mr. Kushal Jain also for spending his time with us and sharing his knowledge.
Sure, sir.
And both of you have been very pleasant to take our request in short notice. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.